Hello, my name is Jen Young, and I am the metadata coordinator at Northwestern University Libraries. And I'm presenting on behalf of myself and Julie Hardesty, who is at Indiana University and is my counterpart on the Avalon media project. So I'm going to talk about how we've been starting to think about what kind of metadata we want for an Avalon work type to be available in Hyrax. So I'm going to set the stage for what we have right now, which is for our Avalon 6 metadata. We've already migrated to RDF, our administrative, structural, and technical metadata. We knew at that time we did not want to get into the descriptive metadata because it's much more complex and complicated, and we wanted to make sure that we had to think about how to migrate that metadata as well. So the descriptive metadata is still MODSXML-based. And I've included links to a lot of the pages in our GitHub repos and documentation. So the slide is available in Google Drive. So thinking ahead to Avalon 7, which is now in development and is going to be available as hopefully as part of the base Hyrax at some point. Excuse me. So knowing that we have to go to Avalon 7 and Hyrax is that we have to move from MODSXML to RDF. So now we really have to develop that plan for migrating metadata as well as determining what we want that work type to contain. So here's our demo server for Avalon, and you'll see for Hyrax, right? Avalon and Hyrax, sorry. So you have your work screen. And then when you select a type of work, the ideal is that you would have audiovisual work as a work type that you can select out of the box. And it will be based on what we've developed for Avalon speeds. So again, we want to make sure that we are containing all of the fields that are already in Avalon 6. We don't want to lose any of that metadata. So we've been making sure as we are talking about moving to Avalon 7 that everything in 6 is already being represented in the work type for 7. So if you can see, I know it's kind of hard, but there's a publication date and a creation date. Hyrax does not have that kind of distinction out of the box in their generic work. It's something we've defined for Avalon in particular. Excuse me. So some of the really big changes that have happened between the differences between what the generic Hyrax work has and what Avalon would like to use is that we have a lot more subjects. We split out our subjects into topical subjects, geographic subjects, and temporal subjects. Excuse me. And then we also have notes and note types. So we have labels that we coordinate with our notes, such as performers or performance date, venue, because these are a lot of time-based media, so there's a lot of that kind of audiovisual needs, that metadata needs that you also want to make sure that you map out for this particular work type. And then also we have a lot of identifiers that we use that is not obviously out of the box for the generic work. So we use the LCCN, the Library of Congress number, the LCLC number if there is one, matrix number. I mean, there's a lot going on in identifiers. I'm sure if you're a media person, you're aware of that. So I've linked at the bottom here to our current metadata model, the work model that we've been developing. Right now it is 0.02. This is part of our roadmap to getting to 7. So right now we just started our 0.4 project cycle or sprint cycle to getting us to Avalon 7. Another big change is that we currently have the ability to import from MARC-based catalogs. So Northwestern, we use ALMA. So I can type in the ALMA number and it imports all that metadata automatically into Avalon for me. That is something obviously that Hyrax does not do. I don't know if it actually ever will. It may not need to, but it's something that we would like, that we do for Avalon, that we would want to replicate, I think, for our work model. So that is something, and it's very complex, because if you're familiar with MARC 21, there's a lot of, especially for audiovisual materials, a lot of notes. A lot of things get put in note fields. So I've linked the XSL that we currently use, which is pulling from MARC 21 and converting it to MODS 3.5. And it's a very select fields that we're doing the conversion for. Because again, we may not want every single MARC field to be available, but we wanted to make sure that we captured what we needed for our audiovisual works. Sorry, excuse me. So as we're starting to think about where we're going, so we need to continue, obviously, to refine our model. So for this current release cycle, we have started talking about adding controlled vocabularies, or at least identifying metadata fields that we might want to have controlled vocabularies associated with them. Right now, we don't have that. So it is kind of like a wild west of the metadata that gets supplied. And then also, we want to make sure that we have validation for certain fields. Right now, it sort of accepts a lot of, it's not always looking for things that it should look for, so we just want to make sure that that is happening and will be there. And then rightstatement.org integration, we definitely want that, and it's already there as part of Hyrax. But there's some things that we wanted to change, and this is kind of coming also out of the Samvera metadata interest group, is that we're proposing some predicate changes. Particularly, and right statements is one of them, because we would like them to use a different predicate and refine it for the right statements. And then, I mean, that's something that Julie and I have kept in mind as we're developing this model, is that we want to make sure that we're aligning with sort of the rest of the Samvera metadata interest group community. And that includes the mods.rdf sort of subgroup, and looking at their recommendations and how those fit in with what we want to be able to use for our work model. So for each release cycle, we also want to make sure that the previous cycle changes have been implemented, and make sure that they're available. And usually that hasn't been an issue, but going back to the notes and the note types. So one of the things we haven't been able to really work out quite yet is that how do you associate a label with a field? Because we have many labels particularly for like notes, and also for we have related URL, and then we have a label that's associated with that URL. So how do we associate those two objects in RDF? That's kind of a little stumbling block at the moment. So thinking about, do we provide the label as part of the metadata, sort of at the beginning, or do we, or you have to like mint objects. It's very complicated, and I know we're not the only ones I know thinking about this, for sure. if you saw the WGBH presentation this morning, you might have heard that I knew half of Avalon. In particular, has been working with the American Association. Oh, now I'm forgetting what they're.
American Archive.
American Archive, thank you, yes. They're working on developing a batch ingest system that works for them. So we'll see how that kind of plays into the work that we want to do in this area for Avalon. We do already have batch ingest, obviously through spreadsheet, but again, it's very basic because we're still in mods land. So how do we develop a service for batch ingest that will allow us to use those RDF mappings? And also on the NU side, we've developed a batch ingest process for our instance of Hyrax called Donut. Digital Object Northwestern University Toolkit. We're very big on donuts at Northwestern. Yeah, so, sorry. So I've linked to the roadmap, and then, so sort of the next two big release cycles taking us to, like I think it's January, mid-January. Our batch ingest is part of that, of those cycles. So hopefully at the end of those cycles, we'll, have that developed and figured out for our instance of Avalon 7. And as part of that, we also have to start thinking about developing a migration path for people who are in Avalon 6 and mapping that to Avalon 7, whatever we finalize our work type. So that includes, do we think about, because part of the work we're going to start doing is also thinking about what fields we might want to have URIs associated with them. But for migration purposes, since we haven't required that before, we might just want to keep some things as strings or develop or define certain fields that can just take a string instead of forcing it to take a URI to make it easier for people to be able to migrate from 6 to 7. So that is all I had to talk about, but I'm very open to questions, and thank you very much.
So you say in Avalon 6 and I assume 7, you've got a bib import from your catalog?
Yes, from in 6 we did. We have not worked on it yet for 7.
Okay. What's the, out of curiosity, what's the catalog?
For Indiana, we use Alma.
Okay.
I'm not sure what Indiana has.
Northwestern.
I'm sorry, Northwestern uses Alma, sorry. I'm not sure what I don't know what Indiana uses off the top of my head.
Okay. The reason I ask is we do something similar, and it's interesting that you're doing it, and I wondered if you've thought about a middleware layer for converting the mod, or from the Mark 21 to RDF.
I guess, why would you want a middleware? I'm not familiar with it, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't want to.
No, absolutely.
We have one for the dot process that we're going to change our iOS someday. So I was just curious if you worked on that, or if you had thought about similar ideas for middleware layers that we could talk to you about.
We have not.
I'm not exactly sure how to implement it in 6, but that goes all the way back to like Avalon 4, so I'm not sure how we implement it.
And actually at Northwestern, we've changed catalogs since we used Voyager initially, and then like 3 years ago we migrated to Alma. So yeah, all those bib numbers changed. So it's been a little bit of a challenge to make sure that the right metadata is there for things that were there from the past. I mean, they didn't change, but Yes, there's some, for our course reserves, they link to the actual record, because that's part of their process. So making sure that that is accurate was a bit of a challenge.
And I guess one more question I have is how do you keep it up to date when you're cataloging this? So when they update the catalog record?
Actually, I don't think it goes back out.
Okay.
I guess we just have to be aware that something changed. It's always the challenge, how do you keep things in sync?
Do you have any additional questions? Okay.
Thank you.
And we still do have some lovely Avalon pins.
Oh, yes, Avalon.